All right, welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. I am here with my guy from Section 215, also a member of 4th and Jawn, writer, Sam. If you want to go ahead and throw your Twitter handle out there, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
It's Swagman95. It's just how it's spelled. It's an old high school nickname, but I'm really happy to be here. Scotty's been really cool. We're killing it over at Section 215, and then we got some really cool stuff going on the 4th and Jawn as well. Got some new fantasy page that comes out this year as well, and then also my own podcast, which I will be working on with three of my friends and writers from 4th and Jawn, Soko, Chris Malley, and Jimmy Smith. Nice. We're really looking forward to that, and we're gonna kill it, man.
Yeah, of course, man. And I will be sure to check that out myself. I'm a huge fan of the 4th and Jawn crew, so I got a lot of people I talk to out of that group of guys. So yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on the show. We're going to talk a little bit of Eagles, talk a little bit of fantasy football. Obviously, like you said, you're coming out with the the whole podcast and everything. You're a big fantasy football guy, so that's why I wanted to get you on the show. But yeah, we can dive right in. I do want to go ahead and say, bye-bye to the Flyers. It is kind of sad, man. I was over it by, midway through the second period. I know you said some similar things. I was over it, man. It was, we had 16 shots in the entire game, I think. Miserable way to go out, 4-0 to the Isles.
Yeah, very disappointed. Very disappointed in how that ended. No defensive support whatsoever. Just, you know what? It's something about that arena. It's the same arena the Raptors knocked us out, the Sixers out last year. I mean, there's something bad about that arena in Game 7s, man. It just doesn't sit right. I would never feel comfortable there.
Those last two games against the Isles, man, it was just target practice on Carter Hart. You know what I mean? They were just getting as many shots as they ever could have imagined.
He played as well as he could have.
Yeah,
played as well as he could have there.
Exactly. And, if you just look at the numbers, the discrepancy between the shots, for the Isles and then the shots for the Flyers is just ridiculous. But yeah, we did just want to go ahead and say bye to the Flyers. We're not going to spend too much time on that. They got a really bright future. And I definitely am looking forward to, seeing what they're going to do next season, honestly. It was surprising for me to see them get the first seed in the first place. I don't want to take that for granted. You know what I mean? They did earn that spot, and they were definitely worthy of the number one seed. They just ran into a really tough New York Islanders squad, man.
Makes you wonder about what would have happened if the season never would have gone on hiatus. I'm sure in the coming months, all the sports leagues will have like those big alternate reality. What happens if the year never went on pause and you lost 6 months worth of games for these leagues? I mean, that had to put a huge damper, especially in the Flyers. They were riding that sick. I think they won something like 18 out of their last 24 games. They were on some sick streak there. So we'll never know.
That's a very good point, man. We'll never know what it would have been like. Even for the Sixers, I mean, we thought that was going to be better for them, and it ended up not being. It didn't really make a difference at all. If anything, it was worse.
Yeah, once Simmons got injured, I mean, it was done. They're over.
Which we won't even get started down that road.
Yeah. No.
All right, man. Let's dive right in. Let's talk some Eagles. We can start with the the recent cuts. A lot of Eagles Twitter was just going wild over the Rasul Douglas and Sidney Jones cuts. Those were probably the two biggest ones, and then obviously the not Avonte Maddox, but Cravion LeBlanc. Obviously, I know you feel the same about this. We're going to bring him back in. That was just a procedural, cut.
And he's not subject to waivers either. So, I think he could be back as early as tomorrow. Hopefully, this doesn't backfire on them. I think they want him back. They really certainly do, because they only have 4 cornerbacks without him, and you really don't want to depend on Jalen Mills to really have to step up there. You want someone else in there too.
Yeah, because I was talking to a couple other Eagles fans, and they were kind of saying how we do have Jalen Mills as that option, but my whole problem with that is just how that would shift the entire defense around at that point, because you don't have Will Parks there right now. He's out for a couple weeks, and he's going to be playing mostly that that like quasi linebacker type of position, similar to what Malcolm was doing. And so then you would be relying on, a rookie safety at that point if you move Jalen Mills outside.
Correct. And I think they're comfortable
back there as well too. He's a safety prototype as well.
I think they can be comfortable with Kayvon Wallace coming up if he needs to. I think they've shown him a lot. They said he had a really good camp. I mean, that guy was a starter on a couple national teams, championship teams for Clemson. Got to imagine he's more than ready to live up to the hype.
He has that pedigree. So, I mean, it definitely would be exciting. I personally would like to, see him get a couple weeks of just, coming in and out and just getting to be in that backup role before he would get thrown out there necessarily. But, yeah, I'm with you. I have a lot of confidence in Kayvon. So what'd you think? I didn't think they were going to get rid of Rasul and Sidney Jones, at least, not just straight up cutting them. But yeah, they went ahead and did that on Saturday. They got him off the team, and now Sidney's down in Jacksonville, fell all the way to the practice squad, and then Rasul gets picked up with Sharif Miller by the Panthers. So how'd you feel overall about that?
You know what, I kind of expected both of them to go. I figured one would be by at least a trade. I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get anything for Sidney Jones, but seeing as how he landed all the way down that practice squad, as you said, have to imagine nobody wanted him, and I guess everyone's really scared of his injury history. I mean, he's never really seemed to be healthy ever since we drafted him, and I still think we should have taken the swing. I'm glad we did, because it's not often you get the chance at, a guy who's got a first-round pedigree and talents and stats in the second round. So I thought we were really lucky when that happened. It's just a shame it didn't work out. As for Rasul, I think he was burnt toast. I think it was any good. So, I was ready for that to be over with. And Sharif Miller just, So, but they, I was surprised at some of their other cuts. They cut some guys who you didn't really think they were going to cut. Togi, the undrafted tight end. I think that hurts for a team that really wanted to run 12 personnel as much as they could. They said they loved it. To not have any depth behind Goedert and Ertz, I think is a mistake. So hopefully they'll make a move. Hopefully to remedy that.
Especially, with Goedert, he already has, like the fractured thumb. He's kind of, he can still play with that, obviously, with the cast on, but he's already banged up a little bit. So to not have a third tight end in there is just, it's kind of weird. You have to think they're going to address that somehow. I would imagine they're going to have to add somebody to that, position to create some depth. But yeah, I'm with you on that. That was a huge one. We were able to get a couple of those guys back on our practice squad. I was happy to get Graylin Arnold back.
That's huge. He'll come in huge for that safety cornerback depth that we so desperately need.
I actually really like him.
I heard he was really good out of Baylor.
And then, we also got Prince on the practice squad as well. I thought that was pretty good to keep him in the organization. But yeah, I mean, they made some cuts. Obviously, we're on the same page with Crevion LeBlanc. They brought in Josh McCown to the practice squad. It's cool. I mean, it's whatever. It's not a huge deal.
Hey, if you could pay me $600K a year to sit on my couch and work out and stay in shape, just in case Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, and Sudfield all go down, you can sign me up for that one. I'd love that. That's cushy.
I think it's nice he can get like his like coaching career kind of started with that. He can, you know, kind of lead those guys.
I was about to ask if you thought maybe this is some sort of coaching gig. I know they spoke to him this offseason about possibly the OC job before they went with the committee approach. So maybe they're grooming him for something, you know, special, and they're going to develop that relationship.
I truly think so. And like you said, I like it as well. He was a huge leader in our locker room, you know, 1 year in, came in off a shortened off season in the middle of preseason, and just made his mark on the team, even as a backup quarterback, which is you got to love that. He definitely has a coaching future. So I do believe that they're kind of building on that and just kind of grooming him, you know, while letting him, you know, be part of the roster as well, just for ultimate insurance.
Yep.
Let's talk about, you know, just kind of how you feel going into the season, man. It's right around the corner. Next Sunday, we're playing the Washington football team. Overall, I think it's a good first game for us, you know, to kind of just get some chemistry going. I don't think the Washington football team is going to be, you know, a world beater. I think they'll give us a challenge. It's a division game, first game of the season. You kind of don't know what you're walking into. And our offensive line is beat up. So that kind of is what worries me the most about the team right now is probably the offensive line and where everybody's going to line up. We are looking at bringing in Gordy Glenn, and that could help with depth. Is it going to help the overall? I guess it's better. It's better than Matt Pryor being out.
You don't actually think they're going to trot out Pryor at left tackle this season, do you?
I would hope not, man. I would hope not.
You got to hope that they get it together and they start Jason Peters, right? Give him whatever money he needs. Give him anything. Dude, the guy is a better left tackle than we will see all season.
Exactly.
You know, for us. There's not going to be anybody else. You're going to get Carson Wentz killed if you set Matt Pryor out there.
Exactly. You have to look out for Carson Wentz this season, man. This is, you know, one of the best skill, you know, as far as skill players surrounding him, this has got to be one of the best, you know, teams built around him in his career, you know, aside from that Super Bowl team, I mean, which was built perfectly. But now you got just a bunch of young guys, speed, which you know Carson loves. He just wants to, you know, he loves to shoot it downfield once he gets people he can trust, man. It's just a matter of getting people that he can trust. But, yeah, the offensive line worries me, especially against Washington. You know, they got Chase Young. They got a couple really good pass rushers over there, but
that's about the only thing they're good at, though.
Exactly.
So I think unless you know, Scary Terry hangs, you know, $180 and 2 touchdowns on us, always a possibility with that cornerback room. I mean, you know, I think Darius Slay is going to be really good, but you know, he had a down year. You know, I think you know, we'll see. We'll know what he's bringing, whether it's last year or whether it's the past years.
Yeah.
You know, after the first couple games.
See, and to your point on that, I just want to throw this out there. You know, before the season, like, Eagles Twitter, please do not flip on Darius Slay. The first time he gets burnt, man, it happens. Like, it happens, man. Don't start calling him Namdi. Like, we just don't want to go down that road. We don't want to put that bad juju, man. I do. I think Slay's going to be really good, even from an inexperienced standpoint, because he knows what it takes to be a good cornerback. You know what I mean? Looking at our group from the past, we didn't have a lot. We didn't have pretty much any guys that knew what it takes to be a good corner. They were never really great corners at any point in their career. So just to have guys like that and you know, Nickel Roby-Coleman out there in that secondary has me super excited. You know, we did lose Malcolm, but I think we fulfilled that safety position, you know, very, very thoroughly. But yeah, I also want to ask you about Slay. Do you think he's going to be that CB1, you know, that follows the best receiver around on the field? Do you think they're going to let him do that?
I think you'll see that. You know, with Slay, he's always made an emphasis. That's what he prefers to do. He loves to travel around the field, no matter who it is. The guy's going up against Devontae Adams. He's going up against Stephon Diggs. He's going up against Adam Thielen. He's going up against whoever the Lions needed him to cover in the last, you know, I believe it was 7 or 8 years since they drafted him. He's done everything they wanted, and he's been very good at it. So there's no reason that the Eagles would deviate from that if that's what he's most comfortable at, because we've seen what happens when the Eagles try to make, these guys do, what they're not comfortable with. We saw it last year with JJ Arcega-Whiteside. They threw him into the fray, might have stunted him. We'll see. But I think you should just let the man do what he wants. Paid him $19 million a year. Let him do what he wants.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm at, man. Like you said, you don't want to ruin his flow, the way he plays. Jim Schwartz knows him from Detroit. You know what I mean? He coached him when he was there. So he knows what Slay's about. He knows what he's good at. We got other guys that can also guard man-to-man, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Nickel Roby-Coleman in that slot, nickel corner package is going to be so clutch. And then, hopefully we do bring in LeBlanc just to, kind of build some depth at that position as well. You got Avonte Maddox over there, which I'm not 100% sold, but he will benefit from having those other guys out there with him. As well as our defensive line. I think our defensive line is looking the best it's looked in years.
Very good.
Very deep. If we can get Hargrave back, in a reasonable time frame. They said he's supposed to be good for week 1, right?
I believe so, yes.
I just don't trust the Eagles when they report injuries, man.
Yeah, we become as a fan base so distrustworthy of anything to do with medical staff, from the Sixers to the Eagles to the Phillies. Nobody seems to know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Do we know? No. But we'll learn soon enough.
Because same with Will Parks and Jalen Reagor, you know what I mean? Which that brings up another point. I was really excited to see Jalen Reagor. We'll have to hold off on that for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, the regular season.
I hope that they make the right decision on this. They didn't with DeSean Jackson last year. It ended up costing him the entire season. He said later on he wishes they would have let him get the surgery early because they wanted him to try and rehab it first. So he did. It didn't work. Never came back. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about the Reagor situation. As soon as they said that he didn't need surgery, and trust me, I'm not like a medical professional, so I don't understand the complete, science of, the anatomy of it. But as soon as they said that no surgery was required, I was just thinking like, oh, so if it was an option of a surgery, then he probably should have done it. You know what I mean? But you never know. He could be fine. We'll see. I'll be optimistic and just try to trust these guys. But he was a guy I was excited for, which, it kind of feeds into this next segment where we talk about, some of the Eagles' options in fantasy football. We already know, kind of, the main players on the Eagles, Carson Wentz, Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz, even DeSean Jackson, he's going to get picked up. You know what I mean? Who are some sleepers for you as far as the Eagles, even for this season? It doesn't even have to be fantasy football, but just some guys that you think might break out this season. Well,
first I want to speak on how John Hightower just looks so good so early. He looks like, that man, he looks like everything we wanted, in any of these speed guys that we've taken. No, in no way am I saying he's going to be better than Jalen Reagor, but
that's what I was going to ask you next.
I think John Hightower can honestly be the best rookie wideout from the Eagles group this year. I think he's got a chance to hold on. I think he's got a chance to snag an outside spot early with this injury to Reagor. I think Rager's going to have his time outside backing up DeSean Jackson the entire season. So I don't think we'll see Reagor in his own starting slot for, the majority of the season or even till next year. But I do think that X on the outside is wide open. I don't think Alshon's a threat. I think JJ Arcega-Whiteside will be good, but I don't know if he's going to lock down a slot, and I think John Hightower just looks
Hightower,
right. And I think, I've seen Hightower, looks so good in training camp. He's got hands, he's got speed, he can separate really well, and that's something we didn't see from Arcega-Whiteside last year, which was supposedly his specialty, was separation and contested catches.
Right.
Going up on that 50-50 ball. But if he can't do it and Hightower can, I say you give the slot to Hightower.
Yeah.
Let them run it. Let them run a real speed-based offense.
Yeah. Because that's what it's going to come down to, between those two. Basically where I'm at, and I just put out an article, on like the fantasy sleepers, three fantasy sleepers that I like from the Eagles. Hightower and JJ were on it, you know what I mean? Right. Pretty much how I'm looking at that is that, one of those two guys are going to really, step up and earn a spot this season.
They have to.
I don't think both will. But I think one of the two. I do agree with you. I think Hightower's style may fit better with the way Wentz likes to play as well.
Right, he loves to chuck the ball downfield, and that's something he's been sorely lacking.
Exactly. And if he's throwing to big targets, he's going to throw to his tight ends. You know what I mean? He's got Goedert, he's got Ertz, he loves those guys. He's already got chemistry there. How do you feel about Ward in that rotation? Does he find his niche in the offense, or does he kind of get, removed as the season wears on?
I am a self-proclaimed member of the Greg Ward Hive. I love that man. I've been advocating him to grab a spot all off season. Shout out to boy Connor Miles over at Eagles Brawl. He is also a proud member of the Greg Ward Hive. I think he's going to be the starting slot guy, at least for now. I don't think he's going to be a game breaker. I don't think he's going to be a guy that posts over 1,000 yards, but he's our most consistent catch option. He's got the best hands of any Eagles wide receiver right now. And I think he'll see a ton of attention. So I think he'll be really good. He'll be a nice, underneath, over the middle kind of guy.
Yes. And he's kind of a switch up from the other receivers. He's not really like any of the other receivers.
Correct.
And towards the end of the season last year, there is a lot of Greg Ward haters. People thought he was going to get cut. I didn't see that at all. I thought the chemistry that he and Wentz built during the end of that season, you have to give that some light and allow that to have some weight put into the decision. And Wentz trusts Ward. That's a big thing with Wentz. That's why you saw him those first couple of years just straight, always throwing it to Ertz, because he trusts him the most, obviously.
Right.
Ertz is the best, receiver on the team. But I think Ward has cemented, maybe not cemented, that's a strong word, but, kind of found his niche in the offense as that slot guy. He can find the open spots in the zone. He kind of has just found his place in the offense, whereas, guys like JJ and Hightower, they have a lot more upside, but they don't really know their role. So I think that's where, that kind of separates Ward in that sense, plus the experience just in general. So
and plus they can run some sick option plays with Ward as well. The Eagles always have to be that QB factor. They're always looking for new ways to scheme the QBs out. So wouldn't be surprised to see him run a couple wildcats, some nice option plays up the middle as well.
You think they get Jalen Hurts in there for some wildcat, or do you think that's all?
I think so. I think they, for all the talk they've said of Jalen Hurts being the number 3 QB, I don't think they would have drafted him to be that number 3 QB without having some sort of gadget ideas for him while he gets acclimated. Once he becomes more of a thrower and starts to, play his way more onto this team as the number 2, they probably won't risk it as much. But right now, while you have him on a cheap contract, he's your number 3 option. You much less risk to running some of these gadget plays. And if he's as shifty and quick as he was in college, it could work out really well.
Yeah, I like it. And I also like, I know we don't do it to Wentz a lot, put him in those positions to run or, even getting him out of the pocket. I think we should get him out of the pocket a little bit more, especially this season with the, like I said, the O-line question marks. But just taking that stress off of Wentz's body, not having him do those type of plays, even if they come in and have Jalen Hurts run, an option, something simple with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott back there. Even stuff like that would be pretty interesting to see. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, my favorite player for this season, as far as just breaking all the way out, I really love Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to have a huge season. I don't think that it's going to affect Ertz too much. It definitely, it's going to affect him a little bit. But Ertz is always going to be that guy as long as he's here. And I do hope we get a deal done with him. I think that would be kind of I don't want to say moronic. I don't want to, just totally play Howie. But I do want to see Ertz, play his career out here. But I understand it's a business. And if Goedert breaks out this season and they don't have a deal done, it's going to make it a lot harder for the Eagles to come to terms with paying Ertz that extension, But, yeah, I just like Goddard's progression. I mean, we saw it coming out of college, his freak ability with his crazy size. He's more athletic than Ertz for sure. But he definitely doesn't have the polished route running like Ertz has. That's what makes Ertz elite. But Dallas Goedert, man, I do love the explosiveness, the way he can, even take a screen pass and take it for 20, 30 yards. I just love the way he plays. I think it, like you said, the way we run 12 formation all the time, led the league in it last year, as far as compared to other teams. I think he's just going to be a huge part of the offense. I think him and Ertz are just going to run that. and there'll be some games also where they'll be the decoys, and then other games where DeSean Jackson and Rager and Hightower, all those speed guys will be the decoy. So teams are going to have to pick their poison, with this offense, which I think is ultimately what's the most exciting.
Yep, I love it too. I would say that my breakout guy this year, an easy thing is Miles Sanders, but I believe that we're going to see a huge season from one of our linebackers, TJ Edwards. I believe that there's obviously not a lot of expectations with this linebacker unit. Everyone says it's the worst in the NFL. It may well be. It's definitely one of the weakest in the NFL, in terms of depth. But I think we're going to see some big performances from our linebackers. I think, TJ Edwards looked really good in some limited snaps. I believe he only played 100 snaps last year, but he posted a tackle rate of 20%.
Yeah, he's the best tackler on the team.
Incredible. And that short little amount of snaps that he was all over the field on those. Really hard working undrafted kid from Wisconsin. Could be really, really good.
I like that pick, man. And it's kind of been, under the radar, but there are people raving about TJ Edwards. And he definitely, some people really like Jerry. They're two different styles.
Shout out to my boy Prime. He loves some white snake, man.
White mamba. But no, I don't think the linebacking group, like, obviously they're not as talented, but I don't think we rely on the linebackers as much as people think. To bring up another point, do you think that they'll start only 2 linebackers? Do you think they'll start 3? Who do you think the third one would be?
I imagine it'd probably be it would be Duke Riley. I think he's their guy. I think he's their guy there. I think Bradley and Davion Taylor are too raw right now. I'd like to see him get coached up for another season before they fully unleash them. And, I hope Davion Taylor turns out to be something. You're going to draft a linebacker. They had to draft some sort of linebacker. I think there were a couple better options they could have chose, but glad they chose at least one.
I think he'll be, somebody that could immediately have an impact on special teams, with his the raw athletic ability. If he really wants to, earn a spot on the team and really make a name for himself, it'll probably start there. Because like you said, he's a really raw guy. Yeah. So, the linebacking, obviously that's one of the weakest parts of the team, but it'll be interesting to see TJ Edwards' progression. Because they, at least from what I've heard out of camp, he's been getting pretty good reviews from camp as well. So it's not just all, statistics from last year. We'll finish off this Eagles segment, man. Just give me a record prediction. And are we making
11-5? 11-5. I think they will. I think it'll come down to, as always, a divisional game against the Cowboys. I think that'll probably decide the division. Whether they lose or win, I think the Eagles will make it in, at least as a wild card. I think their division is weak. They're going to have a good record against the division. You have to think they'll beat, I would hope they would beat Washington both weeks. You hope they'll beat New York. You have to think they'll maybe be able to split with Dallas as usual. And, starting 5-1 in the division is always a good sign. And the Eagles have one of the easier schedules this year. So, hopefully it'll work out for them.
And to your point, I'm kind of in that same boat. So I'm right on the fence of 10-6, 11-5. I'm right in between there. Obviously, competing with the Cowboys, we're gonna have to beat the Cowboys at least once to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. As far as the other divisions, you bring up a good point. We do have a very weak division, especially compared to the other NFC divisions. The NFC West, they got, 3 or 4 pretty good teams. They'll beat up on each other. Arizona's not a pushover anymore. The Rams will still be decent, and then the Seahawks and 49ers, of course, they were playoff teams last year. So
I think those will be 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFC this year. Seahawks and 49ers. They're always scary. Always scary. And
the 49ers defense is just –
and we suck against the Seahawks. Haven't been able to salve Russ yet. So,
which, to your point, that's kind of what I'm thinking there is if we can't grab the division, there's like a 4-game spurt in the middle of the season where I think we play like the Packers, Saints,
Seahawks,
and then I think the Browns are thrown in there, and then like the Cardinals at the end or something like that. That will probably decide the season. If we could at least just split those games. Maybe grab the one against Green Bay and New Orleans or, any of those games in there. We also play the 49ers this year as well. So we'll have to grab, 2 or 3 of those games in order to secure at least a wild card spot. But very good point as far as the other divisions just beating up on themselves because that NFC South is really they'll be beating up on themselves too. I don't know if the Bucs are really going to be as good as everybody's saying. That defense is still really suspect. Tom Brady is Tom Brady, but he also didn't look the same last year. New England didn't have the weapons that he has this year either. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm not totally jumping on that hype train yet. I'm still a believer in New Orleans in that division. And then, NFC North, you got the Vikings, Lions, Packers, Bears, obviously a tougher division than ours. So it'll be interesting to watch it play out, man. I'm looking forward to the Eagles season, man. It's my favorite team out of all 4 teams by far.
Mine too. Mine too. Yeah.
I honestly didn't hurt that much yesterday when the Flyers lost because I knew the Eagles will be playing next weekend. They'll be playing, the Washington team. We should get some very exciting, plays in that game, and we'll get to kind of see what this team's on going forward. I think we play the Rams week 2?
We play the Rams and then I believe Cincinnati after that.
So that's a good game. So it's not a rough start to the season. The Rams aren't crazy good. I think they'll give us a good test. But,
that should be a 3-0 start. That should be a 3-0 start.
Should be. Yeah, it should be. If it's not, something's going wrong.